Hey everyone, what is going on? My name's Archer Live, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing the Berserker build in Payday 2. This build is more experimental, it's not something I'm going to use religiously, but I wanted to showcase it because it's using skills I haven't really had a lot of experience with. And it's trying to come up with a build that's, not just conventional, it's something a little bit different, and it works using different skills that maybe you don't use as much, and mixing it in with other builds that you may use more. So the main point of focus here is we're looking a lot at the brawler subtree of Fugitive, as well as the tank subtree of Enforcer. So we're putting up a lot of armor, but also the Berserker and Frenzy skills, which kind of reduce your health that you have available, but also increase your damage output. So we're going to be taking a look at that, but the first thing I just want to note is I'm not too sure this build is one down viable. If that is annoying to you, if you want to just do one down, this might not be the build for you. It could work if you're really careful, but the problem is you don't have any dodge. And I just don't think maybe I'm using the right perk deck to warrant one down, but just the way it works for me on Death Wish, I really like it, so I'm just going to stick with it. So apologies for that, but a lot of people do play on Death Wish, myself included, so hopefully you guys will still find this interesting. But as always, we're going to go through the skills, then the weapons and my loadout, and then get into some gameplay and I'll share my final thoughts on the build. So let's get into the skills and I'll show you what we've picked up. Okay, so for this build, we've actually ignored the Mastermind skill tree completely, and the first points we're looking at are in Enforcer. So looking in the tank subtree, we've aced Resilience, aced Transporter, aced Bullseye, got basic Shock and Awe, and then aced Iron Man. Very much the armor skills, getting the improved combined tactical vest, as well as increased armor recovery rate from both Shock and Awe basic and Resilience basic. Reducing flashbang duration is really handy if you're able to put the points into that skill. Transporter is a given just for moving bags a bit quicker, and then Bullseye, with it aced, you regenerate 25 armor for every successful headshot, and that only occurs once every 2 seconds, but if you land headshots 5 times in like 10 seconds, then that's an additional, 125 armor? And that can actually build up over time. So if you are aiming for the head a lot, you will notice this taking effect. And I just feel that basic just doesn't do anything really, unless you're going for a dodge build or something. But if you are, you wouldn't be this high up in the tank subtree anyway. At least I wouldn't think so. But just some really handy skills to pick up, and there's not really a lot of debate over them. I just think they all work really well. But the second subtree and Enforcer that we're looking at is the Ammo Specialist, where we've aced Scavenger, we've aced Extra Lead, and then got basic Saw Massacre and basic Fully Loaded. Increasing ammo capacity, I was messing around with points because it's always nice to have that. And on top of that, Saw Massacre was only to get up to Fully Loaded, but we've aced Extra Lead and aced Scavenger purely for ammo skills. It's just something that I chose to specialise in. If you want to get rid of those skill points and kind of copy that layout and put it into the Medic subtree of Mastermind, then you can go for Inspire, or at least basic Inspiring, revive people faster and have Doctor Bags. So that's an alternative if you want, but I'm going for ammo just because of the whole armor setup. In the Technician skill tree, we've only got aced Steady Grip in the Oppressor subtree, just for the extra accuracy and stability on our guns. It's really handy to have, and if you can spare 4 skill points, it's really good to invest them in Oppressor. Looking in the Artful Dodger subtree of Ghost, we got aced Duck and Cover and basic Parkour. It's trying to offset the movement speed reduction that you get from wearing heavy armor like the ACTV, so it does work to an extent, but it's just anything we can get to inch back towards normal speed. And then in the Silent Killer subtree, we got basic Second Wind and basic Optical Illusions, just reducing the amount of time you're targeted, and on top of that, being able to move faster if your armor breaks. The key is to avoid it breaking, but if you do, then you have got a chance to run away and get a little bit faster. So that's just a little kind of wild card to have if you are in trouble and like surrounded by enemies or something. And then finally, in the Fugitive skill tree, in the Revenant subtree, we got aced 9 Lives, aced Running from Death, aced Swan Song, and then we got basic Martial Arts in Brawler, as well as aced Pumping Iron, aced Berserker, and aced Frenzy. Now, it's up for debate whether you really want to get aced Running from Death here. I just think that going with what I said a second ago about, Second Wind, being able to get away if you're in a bad situation. If you die and you're revived, getting away and letting your armor recover and, getting into a good position again, it's just handy having this skill aced Running from Death, being able to reload your weapons and then run away a bit faster for 10 seconds and then get into position and start shooting again. Swan Song and 9 Lives are givens, as always said for LAR builds. There's very few LAR builds where I would, avoid having them because they're just really good skills to have. But yeah, Running for Death is up for debate. That's 6 skill points that you could actually spend elsewhere. I've got another 6 skill points in my build right now, and that's because I did have Up You Go aced as well. Now, the issue that I had with that was I'm not too sure whether really the points are that necessary. So looking for somewhere you can actually put the skill points into. There's a few options. You could get Underdog aced, which would be a pretty good tactic to have. And then on top of that, what I might do is, for instance, get Bulletstorm basic. So, the second you replenish your ammo, for 5 seconds you can just fire without depleting any ammunition. But you know, there's other places you could put skill points as well if you feel like you want to. There's a few places to trade them off, but those 6 skill points are pretty much up for debate. Honestly, it's just kind of, I have got a few extra skill points here. You could put them into Bloodthirst if you want. Every kill you get will increase your next melee damage by 100% up to a maximum of 1600. That's something you might like, so that's something that could be considered. In fact, what I might do is remove Bulletstorm and put that there. Those points are up for debate. I only realised I had 6 halfway through this, and I must have just realised there wasn't anything else I wanted. But yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with basic Bloodthirst. But yeah, so my explanation for the Brawler subtree is I haven't really used Berserker a lot. For me, especially before the skill update, Berserker was something you only really used when you were stealthing a bank heist or doing it loud, and you wanted someone with sword skills. They got Berserker, then they got themselves to minimal damage, like minimal health, sorry, and then they were able to open all the deposit boxes a lot faster. In actual Payday now, after the skills update, I'm trying to use Berserker in more than just that, and actually trying to put it into my gameplay. So if we look very carefully at how this actual thing works, the lower our health, the more damage we do. When our health is below 50%, we will do up to 250% more melee and sword damage, and also up to 100% more damage with ranged weapons, excluding throwables, grenade launchers, and rocket launchers. But we're not using those, so that's fine, apart from the throwables, but they're high damage anyway. And then if you look at Frenzy, it's reducing the amount of health you can actually have to 30% of your maximum health. And if you do that, then the damage you take is reduced by 25%, so a quarter of the damage is just completely negated because you have less health, which makes your armor stronger if you think about it in that sense. And there is a healing reduction, like the amount of healing you can receive, but that's negated when you ace it, so we don't even need to look into that. But yeah, combining these two together, you're always in Berserker range if you're in Frenzy aced, because you've got 30% health and all these effects start at 50% or lower. So if you think about it, if it does up to 100% more damage with ranged weapons, if we're at 30% health, we're already doing 40% more damage with ranged weapons, which is, quite considerable. And then if we combine that with the perk deck I've chosen as well, we can get some even better bonuses. And if your health does happen to knock down, if your armor breaks and you get a bit less health, put up the armor again, and then you actually have even more of these skills, and it can come in even more handy. So that's why it's really good on Death Wish. The only problem with one down is just, it's not really good for survivability. For damage output, it's good, but beyond that, you just die too much, and that's my issue with 1 down difficulty. Pumping Iron is just extra melee skills. It was more to get points up there, but I do like the extra damage that it causes. And that's why in my loadout I have I don't even want to try and pronounce that. I was going to try to, but I'm not going to. The Katana, basically. I like it having it as a melee weapon, and if you build up with Bloodthirst, as I've put my points into now, then every 16 kills, or even less sometimes, you can just slice your sword around and kill a couple of cops. It's just something convenient to have. You could still go for the usual electrical brass knuckles, but you're wasting damage there if you do, personally, in my opinion. But yeah, perk deck, as I mentioned, we're going for the Yakuza perk deck, only because the concepts of that are exactly the same as Berserker. It's just extra boosts. If we look at all the skills here, and we ignore that it's below 25% health, because it's actually below 50 when you max out the deck, you will gain up to a total of 60% extra armor recovery rate. And on top of that, an extra 20% movement speed. But that's literally, if you're at almost 0 health. So I did a little bit of a calculation, in my maths talents as I do. No, but I did some working out for this, and I tried to calculate, how much armor recovery rate you'll get from the skills combined with the perk deck. And if we look at base, so when your health is lower and you're at 30% because of Frenzy, you're going to get the 24% armor recovery rate. You're going to get 25% from Shock and Awe and 15% from Basic Resilience. The 24, as I didn't say, actually is coming from this perk deck, because you're at 30% and, it's 40% of the 60% extra armor recovery rate. All this maths, but basically that comes up to a total of 64% additional armor recovery rate. But if your health is at 0, or, coming up to 0, you can get a maximum of 100% armor recovery rate, and that basically means that your armor recovers twice as fast, which can be really handy when you've got a big armor set like I have, and this build has. So that's why I've gone for that. The movement speed, is quite nice when you're low on health, because anything you can do, as I've said, to boost up your speed. We're already at 7.2 extra on top of the base that comes with the ICTV, so it's very nice to have, and I just kind of like going down that road with it. But other than that, let's look at the weapons. So we're going to be using the AMR-16 rifle. Now, really, weapons weren't a focus with this build. You could go for anything that's high damage. And before anyone says to me, oh, go for the M308, look at the stats and tell me that you don't think that the M308 is worse than that. That is a free weapon, though, the M308. So if you don't have the Butcher's AK car mod pack, which I think I have used a few attachments for in this, which might make the gun better. I'm not quite sure which ones I've used, honestly, that from the DLC. I just attached the best one. Then use the M308. The stats aren't far off, but, you know, just because looking at that, every single one's worse, I want to go for the AMR-16. I will be using single fire on it, but I haven't put the attachment on in case I want to, you know, go auto fire in an emergency. Plus, picking single fire as an attachment does kind of affect the stats, so I don't quite like it. But okay, attachments. We've got the DMR kit. We've got the competitor's compensator. We've got an accuracy boost. We've got tactical handguard, LED combo, rubber grip, thrust lower receiver, expert mag, speculator sight, 2-piece stock, and LW upper receiver. That's a lot of attachments. I forget until I go through it. And that's what I like about these kind of guns, where you could put like about 12 attachments on. But yeah, I keep it on single fire. I don't have the attachment, like I said, because if we actually take a look at the damage that does to stats, you actually end up losing 8 stability and only gaining 4 accuracy. The stability I've got right now, I like. I don't want to compromise it. Plus, occasionally, like I've said, maybe if I'm in Swan Song, I'll switch to full auto and use as much ammo as I can, because in Swan Song, your ammo doesn't deplete. Good tactic to presume, possibly, to try out. But I just prefer this gun, honestly. At least it's not the AMCAR, because then I would be really bad. Secondary weapon, we're going to be using the Bronco 44 revolver. Attachments on it are as such, once it loads up. The flash hider, which actually is pre-update. Why does it? That's a bit weird. Flash hider, we've got stability boost. We've got Bronco scope mount, ergo wooden grip. And then I think speculator sight again, yeah. I might just change my reticle, because I think the reticle was a bit small. We'll go for the angle one, just because I like the angle sight. Overcompensating barrel, and then the slimline body. The real issue with the Bronco is the stability, and that's why I don't use it on dodge builds. The stability really annoys me with it. I've tried to boost it up as much as I can through skills and through attachments. It's got to 60. You know, it's respectable, but it could be a lot better. I just wish it could, like, just improve somehow. But sadly, that's not how we're going to go with this. But there you go. That's the Bronco, and it works quite well on this, and I'm quite happy about it, because using the Bronco, at least somehow in some form in a build, is just really handy. And I don't have enough experience with it. I don't use the Bronco nearly as much as other players do, so it's nice to change that up. But there we go. And we're bringing 2 ammo bags. We've got the ICTV. I've got a little Alpha Force mask with, like, I don't know, 1 paint on it. I just kind of went for it because I quite like how it looks. If I could show you, yeah, just like the way it looks all scraped. I don't know, I just thought I'd show that off because I like it. And we're bringing the throwing axe. I'm still getting better with using it, but practice that I get, more practice of it, the better. So there you go. But anyway, that covers the entire build. We're going to get straight into some gameplay. I'm going to share my final thoughts on this build. The Berserker build. Now, as I've said, this is an experimental build, and with that being said, there aren't a lot of things I want to talk about as to pros and cons, because it's just something out of the ordinary, a bit different to what I'd normally use, and I do like it. It works quite well. The downside's obviously having less health, and, you know, second you lose your armor, you're in trouble, but the actual amount of recovery rate that you get with armor is a really good focus here. It's a really good thing to kind of put the emphasis on, because recovering your armor, especially when you've got so much of it, and normally more armor will take longer to recover, obviously, then, you know, it kind of means that having higher armor is actually beneficial in more ways than it normally is. And you can front a lot of damage and then take cover and let it recover, and it will do it really, really quickly. Honestly, it does it at a rate of knots. It's brill. And then constantly aiming for the head as well with bullseye, you're going to get even more armor on top of that. So lots of benefits to consider here. As for the primary specifically, using the AMR-16, I didn't really think of a weapon specifically to use for this build, because I don't have any skills that, you know, make certain weapon classes more powerful. So, you know, things like body expertise from Technician, or some of the skills from Mastermind subtree like Rifleman and things like that. I don't have any of those skills, so I just thought I'll go with something that's high damage. So I thought a DMR kit assault rifle, picked out the AMR-16, and went from there. There wasn't really anything else to say. I know, and especially more recently with some builds, especially the one-down shotgun build, people have been, you know, a little bit uncomfortable about my choice of weapons. So again, this is an experimental build. I'm not saying these are the best weapons ever. The Bronco is pretty good, but the AMR-16, as I said, I just picked it. I think it's got good stats. Better than the M308, but only marginally on each stat. So if you don't have the DLC for the AK card mod pack, then go for the M308 definitely. And then just put whatever attachments on it you like. I can't remember what I put on mine because I don't use it much. It's not one of my favourite guns, honestly. Just feels a bit clunky. I'm not too keen on it, but there you go. But honestly, there isn't a lot else I want to talk about. I just wanted to, you know, get some gameplay so you guys can see what it looks like. But it works really well with other builds, like with other teammates who bring meds as well. I think, you know, having the ammo is good because especially more recently I've noticed on Deathwish joining public matches, a lot more people are bringing meds than ammo. I've noticed ammo is quite a scarce thing at the minute, and a lot of people are choosing to avoid ammo builds. So it's good to be, you know, sporting on a bit of ammo because from what I've seen, at least on Xbox One, people really are going for meds or first aid kits. There's not really a lot of ammo. So I like to try and be that person who brings it because usually you can't rely on randomers to bring them because they just don't. I don't know why, but a lot of people seem to just appreciate dodge more these days, which is good, but on PC, the stats are even better. The dodge you can get is like up to 60, I think, or is it 65? I think it's 60. So you can even get better dodge on PC than the current console patch, but eventually it'll be updated and we'll be able to get better dodge at that point. But for now, that's, you know, as far as it can go. Other than that, though, that's literally it. There isn't a lot to discuss with skills. I don't think there's many downsides to it. I think maybe having those 6 skill points where I kind of wasn't sure where to put them. I don't know. It's not a build where there are loads of skills you need. And in one way that's good because you can get what you want and with little difficulty, but in another way it kind of feels like, you know, if you had more skill points left over, you could go for more powerful skills, you know, maybe go for certain weapon class skills like body expertise, but it's somewhere in between, and it's a really strange one, and I don't really want to waffle on about it anymore because I can feel that's the direction I'm going. But there we go. So that sums up the build, and I hope you guys enjoy what I've, you know, put across here. Again, it's not a conventional build, but it's something that just kind of works, and I kind of like it, and I will pick it up every now and again, try it, just see how it goes on certain heists. The usual thing that I do is I test it out on a bank heist, and, you know, that's good to a certain extent, but sometimes there are a lot of heists where you're out in the open, like, dare I say it, Goat Simulator. But heists like that, I haven't practiced as much on, hoping this build will hold up against it, but I don't even know what heist I've put for the gameplay because I'm doing the commentary first, as I always do. So, who knows, it might show better on a bank heist, it might show better on a different heist, I really don't know, but that's the build. So personally, I would recommend this as a little thing to try. It's a little bit different. We've all got 15 profiles on our Payday account. Surely you could spare one maybe at the back for this build. And just try it out, see what you think. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. It's always very much appreciated. And leave down in the comments any suggestions for builds that you might want me to do. If it's specific DLC pack characters, you know, like a grinder build, something like that. Somebody has suggested a grinder build. I'm still working on that. Anything like that, or if you want to go for a specific video game character, like, you know, a Hitman Agent 47 thing, that's something else I've been thinking about doing. But anything along those lines, leave them in the comments, I'll go along with what I can. I'm thinking of doing some DLC pack reviews, because I haven't really touched on that much, so that might be a kind of a good road to go down next. So if there's any DLCs that you haven't bought and you're interested in finding out about, let me know, and I'll do a review on it. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. Other than that, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.